Good evening and welcome to Dateline. I'm Ann Curry. It is one of the largest earthquakes ever recorded, and it struck Japan with terrifying force. It crumbled buildings, triggered a tsunami that swept inland for miles, and sparked dozens of fires. And now there is a major new development. Kate Snow has the latest.
The images are stunning. Entire towns literally swept out to sea. Massive waves of water choked with debris. Cars and trucks mingling with boats. Roads split down the middle, buildings collapsed and crushed. The people who lived and worked here now missing, or worse. It was not one, but two natural disasters piled on top of one another on a Friday afternoon. First, the earthquake itself. I thought I was going to die, she says. It was enormous. Then the powerful tsunami. And now concerns that besides a search for the missing, a full-blown nuclear crisis may be on the horizon. It all started with an incredible jolt deep undersea at 2:46 p.m. on a beautiful Friday afternoon in Japan. The quake, measuring 8.9, shook a newsroom in downtown Tokyo, sent panic through a meeting at Japan's parliament building.
It was rattling quite a lot. There was quite a lot of noise. And then I looked out of my window, and that's when I saw, buildings were properly swaying. The big electricity poles, which have hundreds of cables coming out of them, were really kind of swaying from side to side, which was, quite a scary image to see.
YouTube video shows skyscrapers in Tokyo swaying. A grocery store in the capital at the moment of impact. And a man just outside Tokyo posted video of shelves falling in his 9th-floor apartment. No one was injured, he wrote, but there was serious damage. At Ibaraki Airport, north of Tokyo, the ceiling collapsed as passengers huddled under doorways. But the epicenter was more than 200 miles away from Tokyo, 78 miles off the coast of northern Japan. The closest major city, Sendai, with its 1 million residents. I've never felt such a huge quake, this woman says. Within 35 minutes, a wall of water was heading toward Japan's northern coast. You can hear warning alarms in the distance. The first wave hit at 3:21 p.m. Samantha Landau is a PhD student in Japan.
And I looked up, I saw the building shaking. I saw the telephone poles waving. The tsunami really just knocked everything down in its path. And it's not just one tsunami, it's multiple tsunamis.
Some of the most dramatic shots from above showed the tsunami slowly flooding farmland near Sendai, over fields and crops, picking up everything in its path. Some of the floating debris was on fire. At the same time, live video showed cars tumbling into the current near a highway overpass as the tsunami crashed ashore. People scrambled onto rooftops to get out of the water's way. Sendai's airport was completely engulfed, and when the wave receded, small planes littered the parking lot. Authorities said 200 to 300 bodies were found in Sendai, and possibly thousands are missing. And with so much destruction all around, survivors struggled to cope. For a nation reliant on high-speed trains and public transportation, the earthquake and tsunami brought travel to a standstill.
You could hear far away giant groaning, creaking, and rumbling. And when it finally hit you, people couldn't stand even on the street outside.
Jack Stone, an American, lives in Sendai but was visiting Tokyo when the earthquake hit. He doesn't know what, if anything, is left of his home. Even more worrying, he hasn't been able to reach any of his friends in Sendai.
I've reached out to over 30 people in that region, and I've not received one message.
Millions were left with no electricity. The quake severed gas lines, causing dozens of fires. One inferno raged at an oil refinery 25 miles east of Tokyo. It had all happened so suddenly.
The star indicates the location of the earthquake when it occurred about 12:46 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here in the U.S.
Dr. Rick Knabb is the Weather Channel's expert meteorologist on hurricanes and waves. He says Japan's rural area in the north was too close to the quake's epicenter to avoid being walloped.
The tsunami was generated by the earthquake quickly and reached Japan very quickly. Very little warning, if any, for people in northern Japan.
Today's devastation was caused when the Earth's plates shifted under the water and pushed the ocean upwards and out.
It has to be of a magnitude at least about a 7 or more in order to generate a tsunami, and this was an 8.9, and it had the up and down motion that it exerted on the water that generated the tsunami. It's not just the magnitude of the earthquake, but where it occurs and what type of earthquake that it is.
And once the tsunami builds a head of steam, nothing can stop it.
Water is very, very heavy. So when a tsunami comes ashore, it essentially pushes the ocean inland. So it's like a big car, and then this fast-moving heavy water is filled with debris. And all of that is very, very dangerous. Even just the force of the water can kill someone in the path of a tsunami.
And as Japan struggled to deal with the aftermath, it was becoming clear this disaster wasn't over yet. Hundreds of miles from Japan's shore, the tsunami was still spreading, creating this unbelievable sight, a swirling eye of water in the middle of the ocean, pulling boats into a funnel. This map by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration shows the extent of the tsunami's reach, stretching all the way to the U.S. More than 7 hours after the earthquake hit Japan, sirens were blaring a warning in Hawaii as the tsunami sped along under the cover of early morning darkness. Fortunately, when it rolled up on shore, it arrived with a whimper, not a bang.
Aloha, good morning. Thanks,
Hawaii's governor was enormously relieved.
Excellent. We've been very blessed that we did not have the same kind of devastation that has taken place elsewhere.
But now the west coast of the United States was in range, and within the area being warned, a small fishing village on the coast near the California-Oregon border, Crescent City, California, which actually had lost 11 people to a 1964 tsunami. As of tonight, it appears Crescent City again may have taken the biggest hit on the U.S. mainland. 8-foot waves crashed into the Crescent City harbor. There are reports that 4 people were washed out to sea and later rescued. One man who was taking photos of the waves died. Dozens of boats were also destroyed. Further south on the Pacific coast in Santa Cruz, California, the remnants of the tsunami still packed a small punch. Some of these capsized boats were just no match for nature's wrath.
Before I begin, I want to say a few words about
this afternoon, President Obama warned West Coast residents to remain vigilant.
Let me just stress that if people are told to evacuate, do as you are told.
But it was the catastrophic destruction in Japan, a nation he called one of our strongest allies, that was weighing heavily on him.
Today's events remind us of just how fragile life can be. I'm heartbroken by this tragedy.
The president personally offered Japan's prime minister whatever assistance he needs. But in the initial wake of the devastation, it's hard to know just how bad things are, and concern quickly rippled around the world. Japan is the world's 3rd largest oil importer, but with that huge refinery ablaze, oil prices took a steep dive, a reflection of the world's nervousness about the impact the disaster will have on Japan's economy. Twitter proved a telling barometer today of just how high anxiety is all around. The flow of tweets coming out of Tokyo was running at some 1,200 a minute, many from people frantically trying to reach loved ones. In Japan, where it's already Saturday morning, the sun rose to reveal the horrifying extent of the mess. The massive quake was the largest to hit Japan in 1,200 years, and experts say it ruptured a patch of the Earth's crust 150 miles long and 50 miles across, causing tens of billions of dollars in structural damage. The images are shocking, and already the numbers are chilling. On Japanese TV, where the anchors are wearing hard hats to protect themselves from falling debris, they're reporting the death toll will exceed 1,000, most drowned by the tsunami's wall of angry water. And it isn't over yet. The country was shaken by more than 50 aftershocks on Friday. But the most disturbing concern came with reports of a potential nuclear emergency. Late today, Japanese officials issued a red alert after they lost control of pressure inside 3 reactors at one plant, potentially setting the stage for a nuclear meltdown.
They apparently have lost the ability to effectively cool the fuel. And if they can't jury-rig something soon, the fear is a meltdown. Fuel melts, the radioactivity gets out.
At another plant, the radiation levels inside the control room were reported at 1,000 times higher than normal, prompting the evacuation of some 45,000 people. Tonight, fears of a potential nuclear crisis are just adding to the anxiety in a country already shocked by a disaster we're only beginning to comprehend.